welcome back. This is, again, for our group discussion in leadership class. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about Ted Lasso and how that kind of applies to some different communications theories. I'm Kira Smith.
I'm Amy Moore.
And I'm Tyron Robinson.
Anyway, we're going to get into the video. Like the true YouTuber that I am. I said that. But so we had an individual analysis this time, and so we each had like different topics that like we talked about and made separate videos about, and then we just we're coming together and we're gonna bounce each other off of that. So I had systems theory, Amy had
Functional approach to conflict,
and I had dynamic and process models.
Right, and so something that I know that like Amy was talking about in her video was Rebecca and Ted's relationship and how that kind of started out less on the healthy side of conflict and more into healthy conflict. And I just want to know, like, do you want to like dive into that real quick?
Yeah. In my notes on interpersonal relationship theories and relational dialectics theory explains that relationships are built on tensions and contradictions, such as the push between autonomy and connection. Ted and Rebecca embody this, basically. Rebecca initially wants autonomy, control, distance from Ted. Ted seeks connection, biscuits with the boss every morning, really wants to get to know her, is just really overall excited to be there. Over time, their dialogue becomes kind of iffy. As Kira mentioned in one of her video, in her individual analysis video, she talked about systems theory, and that helps explain how communication changes the structure of a relationship. System theories involve inputs, throughputs, and outputs. In that case, Ted's optimism and Rebecca's guardedness are the inputs. Their ongoing conversations are their throughputs, and their transformation process is the output, and it's mutual respect at the end of episode 4. And that's what I kind of wanted to touch on. Does anyone have any comments on that?
So, like, on that, another input into their dynamic is Rebecca's divorce, because that is, like, a driving force in the
relational
show.
conflict.
It's a relational conflict. It's a human relational input, and it's why Ted's there in the first place. And then, actually, we start to see an output of that, a relationship change. And so that's a shift in trust, cohesion, identity, affinity, or roles. And you see this shift in trust, what is that, the third or fourth episode?
I would say like the third to the fourth.
The third to the fourth episode, when they're at the banquet and Rebecca's crying.
Yeah,
and so that's Ted, like, Ted comes out and he's comforting her, and you can kind of see something in Rebecca's shift, and I would say that that's the relationship change output, specifically of their dynamic.
Their relationship becomes very functional instead of dysfunctional. Right,
and you can kind of see, like, I think, not a relationship change, but I think an adaptation, or a restructuring adaptation throughput is also happening with Rebecca just in general. Rebecca with Ted, Rebecca with Keely. I think that was something that I wanted to touch on, and I didn't. I don't know if you guys, like, wanted to talk about that scene, but, like, that was such, like, Keely just brought in such a fun little pop of, like, girl power.
She did.
To the dynamic that I think Rebecca needed, because she's consistently surrounded by men who try to undermine her.
Up. And Keely just brought in this spark where she kept knocking down her wall.
Yes.
And it sparked a little something of connection.
And I think that instance with Keely helped Rebecca be able to open up with Ted.
I want to ask y'all this, because I noticed it, so I want to know if y'all noticed it in the show.
Okay.
In the scene, like, at the banquet where Rebecca was seen, like, crying, throughout the show, she's seen as, like, just, like, this tough, like, mean, like, boss lady, stern, like, she secretly has it out for, like, Ted, for, like, wanting him to fail. Yeah. And then the dynamic changing and her having to be open and vulnerable with Ted. I think that was neat to see as well.
I think that was really neat, and I think that's, like, because Ted just consistently was like, he's just a nice guy, guys. He's
just a southern charm, man.
But he consistently brings the input of being a nice person and, like, trying to input that into the system. And I think a couple of times it fails, and it kind of, like, conflicts with everyone else's inputs. But I think as they get used to it, they're gonna get used to him inputting that.
Awesome.
Speaking of getting used to, how do you think Roy is getting used to Ted? Like, he keeps going into his office talking sometimes.
I think that was really interesting because he's done that from the get-go.
He has.
That's something that I talked about in my video, I know.
And in mine also. So for mine, I talked about like how leadership is an emergent quality.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like with Roy, and I picked him in my individual analysis specifically because I feel like he's trying to like avoid
He
actually
is.
like Ted, but he's being like forced like to do it
yeah.
based on the circumstance. Like he doesn't
Yeah.
have a choice. Like because like we all said, like Ted's like he can be like annoying, like corny at times, but he's likable. He's very
Mhm.
likable. Like his
Absolutely.
personality, his character, it just it kind of draws you in.
Yeah.
With like the same way with Rebecca, and I feel like he's doing the same thing with Roy.
Mm.
Like I mentioned in my analysis how Nate's being like bullied and harassed by
Mhm.
Jamie and his
Yes.
friends on the team, and Roy was like the only one to get like irritated by it.
Mhm.
And he went in and was talking to Ted and was like, "Hey, like we need to do something about this." And Ted was like, "I'm not gonna do anything about it."
Absolutely.
But he knew like him saying that
He knew that it was
Roy
gonna push Roy.
was gonna like
Mhm.
irritate Roy and like kind of like force him into like that leadership role.
Right. And I think that's gonna be really important.
A leadership
Also.
hierarchy.
Love a good leadership hierarchy.
We love that. I think Roy's going to become that.
I think Roy is going to take on a leadership role. I think it is kind of like an emerging leadership that like Ted's kind of like pushing him to, but like
Mhm.
without actually saying he's pushing him to that. Because I think Ted knows that if he like told Roy that, Roy would be like, "No, I'm not doing that."
He talks about, he's like, oh, I'm not going to fall for your manipulation games. I'm not going to
Goes
do
and
all this.
headbutts a guy in a club.
Yeah, basically.
And see, I would
Basically.
like to see it in Jamie too, but I feel like it may be like way like I think
Yeah, I
it's
think
like
it's
We
gonna
gotta
take a
because as
while.
of right
we
now, I
gotta
don't
see
like
something
Jamie.
up
Like,
to-
as of right now, I don't like Jamie.
He needs to go back in the oven. Like if he were a cake, he
Yeah,
would still
he's,
be like
he's not
liquid.
fully ready yet. You gotta.
Like wait,
You
Yeah.
gotta let him cook.
I
For
feel like
him
his
cook, let
development
him
is
cook.
going to be longer than anybody else's because he's just so full of himself.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think he's gonna have to get like knocked down a couple of pegs, and then he's gonna be able to like be built back up. And I think that's gonna be like, I think the knocking down is gonna be an input. Him building back up is gonna be a throughput, and then whatever like leadership or like because he does have influence and he has power. What type of like leadership would you say that Ted, Roy, and Jamie all have? Can you pull that list back out?
Yeah. Going to my leadership skills.
Leadership styles.
Yeah, so it's like if I see it, I can tell you.
There's people-oriented, action-oriented, connected-oriented, and time-oriented.
Oh, I was thinking like
Like, are you talking about community operations?
like the like legitimate power, expert power, referent power, participative
Oh.
leadership, like that.
Understood. Got it.
Yeah.
I feel like democratic leadership only because,
Oh, I'm
and
there.
I say that because,
With Ted.
well, hot take. Watch this.
Okay,
So
okay.
Nate.
Yeah.
So Nate
Yes.
has like you can see it on Nate's face. Nate has never been like given the time of day to like participate in like
Yeah.
the decisions
Mhm.
for the team and stuff like that. You can tell because he's normally just makes like the Gatorade and like
Yeah.
The
he washes
Gatorade.
like the jerseys and stuff like that, and like they treat
Yeah.
him like crap. But when Ted and the other coach, I can't remember his name.
Beard.
He just Coach Beard. But
He's just got a beard.
they came around and like they kind of like involved him
Mhm.
in like the decision making process. I remember in one of the scenes in one of the episodes that we've seen recently, he created like a new play.
Yeah, he
for the
did,
team,
and it like
and it
worked
worked.
well.
And everybody was like, oh, well, like I remember the reporter Ted Krim was like,
Mhm.
who
Very
created
interesting.
that? And he was like, oh,
Nate.
Nate the Great.
Nate the Great. So
Nate
I
the
feel
Great
like
did.
it's democratic leadership amongst
Mhm.
all of them.
Yeah.
And you see that because they're involving not only the members of the team, but also lower level individuals in the show like Nate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and I think that Ted has enough like humility to know that he doesn't know a lot about football. I almost called it soccer. He doesn't know a lot about football, and so Nate is there because he knows about football
Mhm.
and he likes football, and so he's going to be able to know more about the game than him or Coach Beard are ever going to, just because they're researching it.
Mm-hmm.
Like because he's like all of these men have like lived their lives following football and like playing football, and
Yeah.
like Nate is on like staff for a premier football club, and so like I think that's also part of like Ted's charm is he
Right.
knows when he doesn't know stuff,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. That was a great chat.
Yeah. Anyway, I hoped that makes somewhat sense to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And
Until next time.
Which will be soon.
Love Roy.
Live, laugh, love Roy.
Yeah.